Hi everybody, this is Barbara Drazga with DealDivaWholesale.com. You can go over to DealDivaWholesale.com and check out a bunch of articles and videos and interviews with people who are super smart in the industry of selling online over on that website. And tonight I've got another guest expert interview with Phil Leahy. And I can't believe that I scored this guy. I just can't believe it. This was just kind of happenstance. Some people had mentioned him to me in passing, and before I knew it, he agreed to be on a webinar to talk with us. And Phil is super, super busy. He produces the event Retail Global in both Australia and in Las Vegas twice a year. And Phil, how many people were at your recent Australia event? How many?
1,050 odd. I think 1,053 we had at the last event.
Wow. And how many presentations and speakers did you have?
We had over 70 breakout sessions, over 105 speakers across 3 days. So with seven breakout streams going at the same time. So you've got 7 different choices of content while the conference was going.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between Retail Global and a lot of the other events that I've been to in the industry and that I haven't been to, but I see is they have a speaker track of one speaker after the other, and you're limited to the topics. And I like the structure of Retail Global because you can pick and choose when you go what you need to learn based on where you're at in your business. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And our biggest complaint is that, we've got so much content and some people want to go to 3 sessions which are on at the same time. So that's our biggest complaint. So I think we're doing a good job.
Yeah, I think so too, and I'm really excited to attend the Las Vegas event, and I'm pretty sure we've agreed that I'm actually going to be presenting at Retail Global in Las Vegas in September 2017. You can tell I'm really excited about this, but just reached out to me and invited me, so I feel incredibly honored, and I want you guys all to come. If you're on this webinar, wait till the end. We're going to offer you a discount, a Deal Diva discount on tickets. So even on the early bird ticket, you're going to get a discount. But I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there, and we'll unveil what I'm going to be presenting on at a later date. But it is set in stone now, Phil, right?
That's right.
I am going to be a speaker in one form or another. So looking forward to seeing you folks there if you can make it. It's September 12th to 14th, correct?
That's correct.
In Las Vegas. Now you're holding it at a hotel that has really reasonable rates too.
Yeah, look, we're off strip. We're at Rio, and it's not far from the strip. One of the things we've really tried to do from the start is to keep costs accessible for small business. I'm very mindful of when I first started, coming from a base of nothing, that it's a big ticket ask. So having it at the Rio, I think it's like they've got $44 a night there or something.
Yeah, so it's extremely cost effective because you have access to so much content and so many experts. And from what I understand, you were telling me about the Australia event, you had people who were small business owners, and then you had people who were corporate, earning. So you're rubbing elbows. And when you go to this event, you're rubbing elbows with people who are where you're at and well beyond where you're at. So you can get inspiration from larger corporations.
Yeah, we do our best to be inclusive. A lot of conferences either hold, conferences for the big end of town. Ticket prices start at $2,500, and they like to keep it in the club. And then the small ones are really small. So we all share the same customer. And I know that small sellers can learn from large, and vice versa. I've seen so many corporate types with meet an entrepreneur who's doing something really well. They learn as well, and we're all in the same ecosystem. We should be able to, be in the same space.
I love your mindset. That's one of the things that drew me to you. And, you are, now guys, don't be intimidated by this. I'm going to give you a few numbers, but I want you to realize that we've all started from, well, basically nothing at some point in our e-commerce experience and our e-commerce journeys, right? So Phil he's been online, selling online in the e-commerce space since 2002. He is a veteran in e-commerce. I should probably let you tell people this because you're going to tell it even better than I am. But right now you're number 5 in the UK on
No,
Amazon
no.
seller?
I was.
You were? Okay.
These are former. Yeah, I don't do the selling anymore.
Okay, but eBay power seller. I mean, you've got this list of. It's a little intimidating, but I know that you started where everybody else starts. You know, we all started on these platforms from nothing, and then you're an inspiration because of the way you grew it. So tell us a little bit about what you've done with e-commerce.
I guess I started off with low base, and that's one of the reasons I was attracted to you too, because our stories are similar, to the point where I actually went bankrupt back in 2001. And before that, I was in the radio business, and before that, I was in the entertainment business. Someone told me about eBay, and I basically listed my first product, which was a signed copy of the Silverchair album, which I took off my shelf. I've still got CDs up there at the moment. Took one off, put it on, I sold it for $100, and I went, wow, this is an opportunity. 6 years later, we've moved into we've got 50,000 SKUs in stock, the number one seller on eBay in Australia out of all categories, a top 5 seller in the UK, top 50 in the US, in that marketplaces area. And then in 2007, mid-2008, I sold my business to Deals Direct, which is the leading. And, media products like DVDs and CDs didn't have a big future then.
Right.
So basically, and then, diverted my attention to doing some consulting, and then also the thing which made to get me to that level. And I was like everybody else, starting out. I had no money. I absolutely had nothing. I had debt. I had no income. Was the fact that you could be tenacious and actually, get through, but learning from other people, and the conference business was what actually helped me. I had to fly to America to meet other sellers, shared information, and that's what changed my business. That's why I believe in what I do now, which is great.
Yeah, being around, what is the, I can't remember who said it, but you might be able to fill me in. What is that saying that a rising tide raises all boats? I'm sure I just mangled that. But when you're around people who are movers and shakers and committed to their businesses and passionate and tenacious no matter what happens, you can't help but have that rub off on you, right?
No, exactly. I'm at my happiest being the dumbest person in the room. I love that. I mean, that's when you're going somewhere, and you don't have to actually understand everything. I've been to some conferences. I remember going to PubCon in Vegas, which is a search conference, and it's for geeks, it's for heavy SEO people, and I didn't understand a word they were saying the first time I went to that conference 8 years ago. I'm going, oh my God, they're talking a different language. But that's the sort of stuff which should inspire you,
Yeah, and if anything, it opens it's like we only know this much of the universe, the existing universe, and you don't know what you don't know.
Oh.
You put yourself around people who are in a whole different place in the universe, maybe not in a bigger universe, but just in a different spot than you are. It shines a light on a part of that universe that you didn't even know existed.
Yes.
And it gets your brain juices going about how you can move into that area or cross-pollinate those ideas with whatever part of the universe you're in. That's how I look at it.
I get that. I like that.
Well, let's talk about now. I know it's easy to get frustrated being an online seller, especially I have a lot of people, followers who are Amazon sellers, and Amazon's got a lot of new rules and a lot of changes, and you've got a choice. I talk a lot about being solution oriented, so I'm going to see what your thoughts are on that. I'm being committed and persevering when stuff happens. Stuff that can be perceived as negative. How do you handle it?
Yeah, well, when I think back to the days, and I think one of the scariest parts about being a marketplace seller, also being a seller where you've got pretty much all your eggs in one basket, is the suspension, getting suspended. And back in the old days, I'd come in. eBay would always do it to me on a Friday night after we all left work, and then find out Monday morning.
Oh man.
And when your 20 staff came back in and there was no sales on the weekend, that sort of stuff is the stuff of nightmares. But these things do happen too, and they've continued to happen over the last 15, and they still happen. And sometimes with the likes of marketplaces, dolphins get caught in the net. You can be a really good seller, really ticking all the boxes, but it will happen. You have to be ready for that to happen, and you actually have to jump back on your bike and keep pedaling. One of the things I've always seen with business, and it's never easy, and we get sold that we go into these places and we're going to make all this money in the first year, etc. You're just not. Those stories don't happen a lot. I just don't see them happening. It's actually it's being persevering. And I think of it like climbing a mountain. And sometimes you get to a ledge and the ledge is over the top of you and you go, I just can't do this anymore. I don't have the strength. But if you just push through that, you might actually find a ledge on the other side where you get reprieve. And that's pretty much what business is. And it's the same for starting out in this marketplace piece. It's just keep going. You're going to get hit in the face. You're going to lose money. You have to get back. You've got to find the answers and keep going.
Yeah, I actually think that it's that when a marketplace has got some challenges, but it still could be potentially very profitable. I think that when obstacles come up, it levels the playing field, because people who don't persevere and who give up way too soon and too easy, they go away. So you've got less competition in that space.
That's exactly what happens, and that's what people forget. The people go back to the village. They stop, halfway up the mountain. They go, "Oh, this is too hard." They go down, which makes it lighter as you keep climbing. It gets easier, and the rewards are better because the competition's gone back to the village. Absolutely.
It's funny, they're back in the village and they're looking up at the mountain that they thought was insurmountable about an hour ago, and they see that right past that ledge there was this really big prairie with trees.
Exactly.
Frolicking sheep that they couldn't have gotten to if they try a little bit harder. On that one more step.
So true. So true.
Hey, you started that analogy. I had to go with it. Well, all right. Well, let's talk about how to. I like having multiple streams of income. I too went through the crash. I was a real estate investor, and it was just a bad time for me during that financial crash. Towards 28, 29, 2010, and I had my eggs in two big baskets, and both of them got hit. So the lesson for me was, personally, you might not agree with this, and that's okay. If you're listening to this and you want to triple down on one thing, that's your choice. I like to make sure that I've kind of hedged my bets a little bit. So I have multiple streams of income. One of them is Amazon. One of them is e-commerce products in several different marketplaces. I've got websites, news sites, blogs. Talk about, being a multi-channel merchant. How would you kind of secure yourself, if there is such a thing, being an e-commerce seller?
Yeah, okay. So we all have to start somewhere. For me, it was eBay. And I needed to prove it, get it going where we actually had made enough money so I could actually take my attention off and look at another channel. It's never easy, because you're basically shoveling in to keep this machine going and you're making a bit of money, and then you sometimes want a bit of a rest too. You still can't. You have to look for other channels, because then you're going to have that insurance policy. If you get suspended on this one, or if something happens, or it gets very competitive, you've got this other thing over here. And then really the next step after that, looking at your website. For example, you can build a brand on Amazon. You can build a brand, but you can't own the customer.
You can't own the customer on Amazon.
On eBay, for example, you can build a brand and you can own the customer. So you can actually take someone from eBay as well and bring them into your own website. So then you've got another channel. So having a multi-channel and understanding your business is critical. And there's a lot of different disciplines. Like having your own website, that's again a whole nother thing, because all of a sudden you've got to know about search and SEO and ranking and traffic and all that sort of stuff. But that is part of your journey. And the sooner you start it, the better. And following that, and this is what we preach to as a business, is cross-border, being multi-currency. And
multi-currency
markets globally, because then you can always survive the shift. You can survive shifts in currency. You can survive shifts in marketplace conditions. You can turn on this one a bit more. You can twig around with it. You have to be spread out, and it requires a bit of multidiscipline as well.
I actually saw an article, I guess it was last week, about there was an event on the East Coast just about a month ago about selling to the Chinese marketplace. So Amazon sellers selling into the China marketplace. And I see more and more articles now about China's e-commerce market is really opening up to the extent that they can under their political
system. Yeah.
System, right?
Yeah.
So and you know what? When you say things like this, it seems as for a small seller, it could seem like completely daunting and overwhelming.
Oh yeah, I understand totally.
Yeah. So just some advice for smaller sellers: don't look. Okay, it's so easy to go running after every bright and shiny object. To call it my bright and shiny object syndrome as entrepreneurs. This is what we do. We have to be disciplined enough to say, have you ever been to the circus where they have this spinning plate guy? So there's a guy who's got a bunch of sticks in the ground, and he puts a plate on top of one, and he spins, 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 and then he goes to the next one and spins, and by the time he gets to plate 6, he's got to run back to the first plate because it's slowing down, it's wobbling, and spin it again. That's how I look at having businesses, multiple businesses or income streams. But you got to get that first plate spinning first. You can't just, give it one little spin and then try to get the other 6 going.
No, and it should be spinning. It should be doing a bit of a flywheel too. And that's the thing. You need to get your channel into a flywheel before you go and look at other channels. So it has to be flipping out some cash. It has to be working before you can go, okay. And understanding you've only got X amount of time during a day, right? And you want to have a life and have work-life balance. So I'm not saying that, as an entrepreneur, just forget about the 8-hour working day. It's not going to happen, not in the first few years. That's about investing in yourself, but also trying to have a balance. But getting that wheel going and then going to the next one. I totally understand what you say. My thoughts about being multi-channel and multi-currency is an evolution, but you have to get that one thing right. So if you're starting out on Amazon and that's where you are at the moment, just get that nice and beautiful, but start looking down the road where the next opportunity is.
I think the key is, as you move on, you get one thing going really well, like being an Amazon seller, is to get your systems in place and have somebody else spinning that plate or have a motor spinning that plate with a renewable energy source so it's working on its own. Then when you move to the next project and the next and the next, the projects that you're pulling away from are still running.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, exactly. Very important. And I've made the mistakes of chasing shiny objects, especially when we're doing really well, when we're making a little bit of money, we're the number 1 eBay seller, we're this, and then I set up a software company and, I wanted to provide services and a shipping company for a shipping calculator which plugged into eBay. And, I just started doing all this stupid shit on the side when I actually just should have kept it selling, Put hundreds of thousands of dollars into these side projects which really didn't do anything. So that's my lesson too. Yeah, keep to your core. That's for sure.
Keep to your core. So focus on figure out what you like to do, what is working well for you, what is outsourceable, so you can have work-life balance. And also, a few years ago, I fell down the Grand Canyon. I was hiking. I was a photographer, and I had all this equipment tacked on me, and I was on these big boots and everything, and I was going after the condors. There are these endangered species, and they're only in the Grand Canyon. And I heard that there was babies that had just been born that had not been tagged yet, and I wanted them photographed. So I was hanging off cliffs, and I got the picture of the babies in the nest and the mom and the dad cycling because they mate for life and coming up to the next. I was on such a high. I mean, I was on an incredible photographer's high when I got those because I knew what was in my camera. So here I am in the middle of off the beaten paths, doing everything you're not supposed to do when you're hiking the Grand Canyon, alone. Nobody knew where I was. And I was so high from this adrenaline that I started running back to the bus area. And I tripped and fell on my face and slid and stopped my fall with my face, broken nose. I've got the picture up on my website. You go to barbaradrazga.com. I actually wrote a story around it that I was attacked by a mountain lion out of joke. And I was out of commission. I was done out of commission. I had rocks sticking out of my knees. I was up there in the hospital. I had no skin on my hands, on my belly. It was just gravel embedded in my skin. It was nasty, right? But there's an upside to this. I had an operations manager. I had systems in place. The business did not skip a beat while I was taking that time to recuperate from this. and
Yeah.
didn't skip a beat. It just kept running without me. So I don't want to put a vision of the worst that could happen in your life, but stuff happens and it is life. So consider, what will your business be? What will your income, what will happen to your income if you can't be in that business running it for a while? And set up your businesses so that you do have these income streams, whether or not you're running them. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like go off on a tangent there.
No, it's so true. And that should be, it's a great story to illustrate that. Absolutely. Because, you know, and I know in my past business life, I've been in a situation where I couldn't afford that fall, you know. Luckily now I spent, 6 weeks on my back with a bad back this year for the first time I had it, but I could cop it because I've got a great team who can get things done now, you know.
Well, let's talk about building a team.
Years ago, I couldn't do that.
Let's talk about what do you do to build a team, and do you have any tips for a small business owner? And guys, you don't have to be giant. You don't have to build a gazillion-dollar business with a giant warehouse and a bunch of employees, and figure out what you want your lifestyle to be like and what the income needs to look like to support that lifestyle, and then build your business around that. So tell us about how you build teams.
So I guess I read the book Good to Great, Collins. I think it's
Good to Great, something Collins.
Yeah, Jim Collins.
Jim Collins, Tom Collins, Jim Collins.
Tom Collins, maybe.
Good to Great.
Anyway, in that it's a very analytical book. It's an amazing book. But there's what I got from it was his analogy was basically get the best people on the bus. Get the best people on the bus. Don't worry about where they're going to sit on the bus, and don't worry about where the bus is going. I found that incredible, especially when it was looked at through the eyes of analytics and looking back at successful companies over a 50-year period. But that was the case too. Don't worry about where the bus is going or where they're going to sit on the bus. Just get the best people on the bus. And that's something we try to do in our business now. You know, it's like we find a good person, we want them in, and we try to keep them. We do it with our speakers as well. But getting great people around you is incredibly important.
So where do you find people?
So you got to get out. The best way to find people is physically find them, by human touch, by actually shaking hands with a person and getting a sense of people. So, of course, we're in the business of that. We're in the business of connecting people. We go to every show, every conference there is here in Australia and also in America.
It's no small task, because that flight is pretty long for you guys from Australia.
Yeah, well, I did 2 last month. I went to IRC in Chicago, and we held a party there, and then came home for a week, and then I was at the Amazon Boost conference in New York City last week. So we got everything, but that's our advantage. But any advice to people starting up: get to the meetups. Go to local meetups. Go to as many things as possible. You don't have to spend money on it, but do that sort of thing, and that's going to broaden your network.
You can even start a meetup. Let's say
absolutely start a meetup. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's no meetup in your area, it stands to reason, unless you're living in like the middle of rural Cowtown or whatever, there are probably other online sellers who are also in your area that are like, man, I wish we could be face to face. Start a meetup for e-commerce sellers and see who joins. Even if a couple
what you're doing too with this is a great example. And we haven't met physically in the flesh, no?
No.
We've met via the internet and with a Facebook interaction.
Yep.
Some of my best friends now I've met through Skype, who we're close. I've stayed at their houses. The technology for people starting out is phenomenal. We've got a few people hired in our business who we haven't met, who work in Florida, who we love. We talk to every day or so via online, and we met them through some other people we'd actually met physically. So it's just getting out there. It's getting out there. That's how you're going to find great people and great people to work with. This new world's not just all about having, I've got people in the office next door, physical people on premise. It's also outsourced, and it's global, and it's so much better now.
Yeah, think about it. 20 years ago, when I was in high school, we didn't have cell phones. Really, we didn't have cell phones. None of this technology existed.
Now we're sounding old.
Remember you made those little like footballs, you put a message in it and then you'd flick it to somebody across the lunchroom. All right, so the technology.
That's a great enabler.
Yeah, you have to really put things in perspective when you're not you, but if you find yourself complaining about things that are happening in your business, really take a step back and put everything in perspective. That, I was reminded this morning when I was grousing about something to a friend of mine who was kind of coaching me through something, and he said, hello, do you have a place to live? Yeah. Do you have food in your refrigerator? Yeah. Do you have a car to drive? Yeah. I said, well, let's put that into perspective with the rest of the world. We are really fortunate just to have the basics of life, running water.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's so right. I saw a friend of mine, Bali, post a picture yesterday of a guy who was working in a rice field, and he had mud all over him, and he's an older guy, big smile on his face. And I go, you know what? I haven't got it too bad. Like I'm not up in knee deep in a rice field every day. I've got this report I've got to go through here. Have this done for the government, and this is last year's report, which I know is going to cost me about 3 or 4 days of my time, and I'm like dreading it, and I'm putting it back, and I'm like, don't want to do it. How lucky are we that's our lot? So you got to remind yourself. Let's face it. Some of the stuff we have to do is shitty. Accounts, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, taxes, accounting, all that paperwork stuff we don't like to do as Amazon or as entrepreneurs. And could you outsource that pile? Because boy, I'd have stress just looking at it.
Being an entrepreneur, what was the saying? It's working 80 hours a week, so you don't have to work 40.
Yeah, it's true. But you got the smile on your face, like the guy who was in that rice paddy. He's probably loves what he's doing for some reason.
Yep.
He loves what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Life's a lot simpler.
I wanted to make you guys a quick invitation to come see all of the speakers and meet Phil in person, because you've only gotten like a little taste of this dude. I can't wait to meet him in person and for me it's wine, I'll have a beer or whatever, and just just connect. It's not about picking brain, it's just connecting and being around like-minded people. So Retail Global, it's September 12th to 14th.
Yeah, so 12th to 14th. And look, just from my experience, when I was selling, I just started selling, and I met all these peer group, I was a little eBay seller, I had about 500 transactions, and then I met the guy who had 50,000 and became friends with him. These people now, some of these people are lifetime friends. We catch up when we travel. I mean, this is a beautiful place to actually, make great business connections and do better at your business and learn from others, but you're going to make lifetime friendships out of this as well, And sometimes you might be surprised it'll be your direct competitor. And I've seen that happen many times, which is a wonderful thing.
I like the term co-opetition, cooperation with your competition. Reach your goal.
There are laws against that, of course.
Well, I don't mean that way, but maybe you can cross-pollinate something that they're
That's exactly right.
Business.
Exactly
you're not
right.
competing against them, but maybe they've got a certain way of doing something in their business.
Look, I've seen that. I've seen them work together. I've seen them buy each other. I've seen all sorts of magical things happen when people get together. And that's what makes our job so satisfying. It's great.
Yeah, if you find another seller who's in the same niche, but they have the opportunity to buy a closeout, for example, of one product that is amazing, and they've got their capital tied up in something else, then they can buy a portion of it. Couldn't you partner with them?
Yeah.
Right? So that stuff doesn't happen when we're in bubbles behind our home office computers, which I am guilty of.
Yeah, and also opening up the world. We've got a lot more internationals coming, which is great. We had 2 people register from Russia today. We've got Europeans. We've got them from Asia, from China, all coming. At the moment, I think there's 30 countries registered coming in to Vegas to meet. And that pollination is magical. I've seen things like, an Australians come and they've got a similar product, and he wanted to exchange warehouse space so they could both sell into the market. Those sort of magical things, Simple.
Well, in Australia, just opened up.
Yeah, let's swap let's swap some space in our warehouses for each other's product. I'll dispatch yours, you dispatch mine, and everyone's happy. I mean, that's sort of magical stuff.
Yeah, I've just started private labeling. I went to Asia in April, and 6 trade shows in 12 days. And I would very much like to get into the Australian Amazon marketplace while it's still new. So if I could partner with somebody who's got warehouse space and can do some prep for me, or whatever, somebody who's in the Amazon marketplace, that would be, I'm not going to meet that person sitting behind my computer, I don't think.
No, you're not. You just don't have that trust. You know what it's like.
Yeah, you get a feel.
You can build relationships with the camera and this, but nothing beats the actual touching of another hand. We're human. That's what we're all about.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. So tell us, retailglobal.com, guys, and just to, I promised you I'd give you a discount. I'll tell you what that is right now, but then I want to ask him one more thing about what types of things we could learn there. I know you've got a lot of, like 100 and something different topics, but maybe you can toss out a few of them. So go to retailglobal.com right now until there's an early bird special until when?
The early bird finishes at the end of the month.
At the end of July.
Yeah.
Okay, so
every
July,
month. So if you
31?
if you use the code now, you'll save an extra $100, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, so you save $100 by putting in the discount code DEALDIVA, of course, DEALDIVA, and you save $100 off of the early bird price. And I think the early bird price is $797.
Yeah, and it's if you pay at the last minute, you're saving like $300 or something. I'd have to check.
So you're at $697. We're at a hotel that is like under $50 a night, and flights into Vegas from almost anywhere in the country are pretty reasonably priced. Get them early. That's why you need to register right now so that you can lock in your flight. Because the further out that you lock in your flight, the better prices you're going to get, and the better options you have with flight times and days. So go ahead and lock that in now. Go to retailglobal.com and type in Deal Diva and grab your ticket, and you'll see me there, as well as a bunch of really amazing, smart people. Tell us about some of the things that people can learn.
Well, one of the great things we have a lot of retailers presenting content. So we typically, a lot of shows you go to, there's vendor pitches, and you can buy a speaking spot as a thought leader. We go out and find people at the coalface, and they're the ones that share secrets. And the good thing is they don't just jet in and jet out. So they're like, I'm speaking at a conference on Thursday. I'm coming in, Thursday morning and out Thursday afternoon. They stay for the time. So these are people you can approach, on the floor. You might see them speak and go, look, I just want to ask you this, and have those moments, which is, really important. We're covering marketplaces extensively. Amazon is about 80% of that marketplace content, but we're also talking about eBay. We've got one of the great eBay sellers from Australia and former eBay staff member, executive, doing workshops and speaking. We've got one of the best search guys out of London, Jim Banks, doing a workshop on search. We've got an advanced Amazon workshop, which is a 5-hour. These are optional workshop extras you can also do. So they're intensive 5-hour workshops.
Oh, wow.
So we've got all that going, but with 5 streams of content, with marketplaces, with social media and marketing, which is really aimed at your website. Then we have a tools section, which is about the exhibitors, what exhibitor tools you could use, and also a bunch of tips around marketing as well. So then there's the case studies and it's
so like research tools, social media tools, systems, setting up systems by using tools.
That's right. Automation. You can't run these, but you can't scale an online business without partners and automation. It's just impossible.
Yep, I agree. Cool. Well, I appreciate your time tonight. Do you have anything else you want to share about Retail Global or about selling online in general and being a business owner in general?
Just circling back, and if you're starting out and you're new to it, just don't give up. If you just be tenacious and keep looking around, looking at different opportunities, because as you said before, that we don't know what we don't know, and unless you actually take time to invest in that, and you've got to do it quarterly. I'd recommend that you, as business owners starting out or even established a few years down the track, if you don't put every quarter to visit a conference or take that time out from your business. If you can't afford it, well, then you need to do it more. If you can't afford the time, then you need to do it. Because it tells you that if you can't afford the time to take a few days off for your business every quarter and go to a conference, well, then something's wrong. You need to restructure that, because your business will go from here to here within weeks of attending these events. Not just ours. Yeah. There are other good events out there as well. There's a handful. But if you do that, it will change. And I found even attending bad events has helped my business. Even bad ones.
If you learn one thing, and it's not just about the content that you're learning there, it's the energy. So it's easy when you're working in a bubble as a solopreneur, I mean, to just feel, oh man, you know, why am I doing this? I'm on a treadmill. Getting that pop of energy from other movers and shakers, you'll get back to your office and start implementing, and your business will go pop instead of just whatever. That's worked for me.
That's exactly how it works for me, even to this day. You know?
And you know what? I didn't realize that you had like these 5-hour workshop, like intensives for each, for like individual topics. I remember when I paid for my college education and how many years it took me to pay off those tens of thousands of dollars in loans. And I can't really say I use a lot of the information that I learned in that college degree, tens of thousands of dollars. So for me, you know, going to an event that cost me under $1,000 with travel and food and hotel and registration cost, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. And look, these speakers haven't been picked out for the last, you know, where it's our 3rd year of holding the show in America, but we've been doing it. It's our 12th year in Australia happening next year. Oh, we've been assembling these speakers over that period of time, meaning going to every show in the States for that long. And slowly, you know, we might go and see 20 speakers sessions at a certain show and go, we want that one speaker.
So and you can pick, it's that face-to-face.
That's what it's like. And then typically it can take up to 5 years to get that speaker onto our agenda and have them part of our family. We've got a bunch like that. Wow. We've actually got a core bunch of speakers we invite back every year because they're so good at their game. They're so good at it. And they continue outside of just speaking, actually doing stuff, you know, selling stuff. That we can't help but be successful if we've got people at the coalface.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of, you know, I like to have my hands into something that I'm going to be teaching.
And I love that about what you're doing, because that's something I did when we was basically having a lab. You know, you're like, hey, we're preaching this. We're not selling a dream. We're actually in the coalface. We're at the tooling phase. We're actually part of this process. So that's incredibly important. And there's a lot of teachers out there who just teach. And that disturbs me when they just teach, and they, you know, especially the ones who actually haven't some sort of background or demonstrated any success in a certain vertical, tend to know more about it than the people who are actually at the coalface, which is not right.
Well, you know, the people who are actually in the muck doing it and working it, a lot of times we don't have the time to create a course and to teach. But you reach a certain point in your business where you're like, you know what, I've got great success, I'm doing it, but I don't want to operate in a vacuum here. There are other people who are struggling, and if I just tell them a couple things that got me over the hump they're at, so at some point you reach a certain level of success in whether it's business or life where you want to
help
show people, just kind of shine a light on, hey, this is possible, and keep going, and just try this one thing. So hopefully
that's what gets us out of business, out of bed in the morning, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Phil, I know you're super busy and you're in a completely different, you're on the other end of the world for me. I'm in Phoenix and you're in Australia, and I want to honor your time. Do you have any parting words for everybody? This is Phil Leahy.
Thank you so much for the time, and it was great to you know, talk to your audience. And also, look, I'm really looking forward to meeting you in the flesh in Vegas, and you know, working together over the next number of years to help other people. So it's great. Yeah,
I think this is the beginning of how do they say that? The beginning of a beautiful
relationship.
So if anybody can name that, put it in the chat of this YouTube video. I bet you know exactly what movie that's from, right? All right, everybody, I'm Barbara Drasga with DealDivaWholesale.com. I'm with Phil Leahy of RetailGlobal.com. Go snag your ticket to the event. I haven't spoken live at an event since 2010. 7 years. It's been 7 years. And I am going to be a presenter at Retail Global in one form or another. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys there. Thank you very much, Phil, for everything. And
thank you.
we'll talk soon.